My name is Adeline Farrow. I'm 28. At 2:47 p.m. on Saturday, June 8th, I was standing at the entrance to my garden wedding reception in Mystic, Connecticut, staring at 35 empty chairs while my mother's voice came through my phone speaker. "Don't be selfish, Addie. This is Colette's first baby." I'd called her 17 minutes earlier. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. Marcus, my husband of exactly 43 minutes, was talking to our photographer, trying to figure out how to rearrange 7 people for pictures that were supposed to include 42 guests. "Mom, you RSVP'd yes 4 months ago," I said. My voice cracked. "You helped me pick the wildflowers. You said you'd be here at 2:30. "Plans change, sweetheart." Her voice had that edge I knew too well, the one that meant the conversation was already over in her mind. "Colette needs us. The baby shower started at noon in Greenwich. We can't just leave." "You scheduled it for today?" My face burned so hot I could feel my pulse in my teeth. "You knew. Mom, you knew my wedding was today at 3 o'clock." "We didn't schedule anything, Adeline. Brett's mother organized it weeks ago as a surprise." She paused. I heard champagne glasses clinking in the background, laughter. "Besides, you can have a wedding anytime. This is my first grandchild." Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time is it there. I ended the call. I didn't throw the phone, I didn't scream. I walked to the reception tent and counted chairs. 42 white folding chairs arranged in 7 rows of 6. Each one had a sprig of lavender tied to the back with cream ribbon. I'd tied them myself 3 days ago. My fingers still had purple stains. 7 chairs were occupied. Harold Brenton, my landlord, who'd walked me down the aisle when my father didn't show. His wife, Margaret. Marcus's mother and stepfather. 2 of Marcus's college friends who'd driven up from Philadelphia. And my best friend from high school, Jamie Chen, who was crying into her champagne. 35 empty chairs sat in perfect rows, lavender sprigs blowing in the June wind. Let me take you back 11 years to understand what Harold Brenton meant to me. I was 17. My grandmother, Eleanor Farrow, had just died. She was the only person in my family who looked at me like I mattered. She used to sit in her sunroom in New Haven, drinking jasmine tea, watching me sketch in my notebook while Colette practiced piano in the living room. "You see things others don't, little artist," she'd tell me. She had this way of touching my hair just once, very gently. "That's a gift. Don't let anyone tell you it isn't." The day after her funeral, my father took me to a lawyer's office on Whitney Avenue. I remember the address, 847 Whitney Avenue, 3rd floor. The lawyer's name was Mr. Jacobson. He had reading glasses on a chain. "Eleanor left you something," Mr. Jacobson said. He slid an envelope across his desk. My father's hand shot out. "I'll take that. She's a minor." "Actually, Mr. Farrow, the instructions are quite specific. Adeline receives this directly." Mr. Jacobson looked at me. "You can open it now or take it with you." I opened it there. Inside was a check for $8,000 and a handwritten note. "For art school. Don't let anyone touch this. It's yours. Grandma E." My father read over my shoulder. His jaw tightened. $8,000 for a 17-year-old? That's irresponsible. "It's designated for educational purposes," Mr. Jacobson said carefully, "which I'll manage." My father held out his hand. "Give me the check, Adeline." "It's mine." I'd never contradicted him before. My voice barely worked. "Grandma said—" "Your grandmother was 84 and on medication. She didn't know what she was doing." He wasn't yelling. He never yelled. That made it worse. "Adeline, the check." I gave it to him. 2 weeks later, Colette got a new car, a silver Audi A4. My mother said it was for graduating high school with honors. The price tag was $32,000. My father paid cash. I asked about my $8,000 once. Just once. That money went into your college fund, my mother said. She was arranging flowers in the kitchen, white roses for Colette's graduation party. You'll get it when you need it. I never saw it again. I moved into Harold Brenton's building when I was 19. It was a 3-story walk-up in New Haven, near the Yale Art Museums. My apartment was $650 a month, which I could barely afford working part-time at a campus bookstore while taking illustration classes at Gateway Community College. Harold owned the building. He was 76, a retired gallery owner who'd spent 40 years running a contemporary art space on Chapel Street. He lived on the first floor. I lived on the third. The radiator in my apartment broke in December during my first year there. I woke up at 6:14 a.m. to ice on the inside of my windows. I could see my breath. I went downstairs to tell Harold. He answered the door in a cardigan and reading glasses, holding a cup of coffee that smelled like cinnamon. "The heat's out," I said. My teeth were chattering. "I'm sorry to bother you this early, Come in." He stepped aside. "Margaret's making breakfast. You'll eat, then I'll fix the radiator." I stayed for scrambled eggs and toast. Margaret asked about my classes. I showed them sketches from my children's book illustration portfolio. Harold put on his glasses and studied each one for a full minute. "You have something," he said finally. "Real observation. That's rare." He fixed my radiator that afternoon. He didn't charge me. Over the next 9 years, Harold became the person I called when things broke. Then the person I called when things mattered. He came to my Gateway graduation. He wrote me a recommendation letter when I applied for my first commission with a small publisher in Hartford. He introduced me to other artists, other illustrators, gallery owners who remembered him. When I met Marcus Delaney at an open studio event in 2023, Harold was the one who told me to pay attention. "That young man paints like he's trying to solve something," Harold said. We were standing in front of one of Marcus's pieces, an oil painting of an empty subway platform, and he keeps looking at you like you're the solution. Marcus was an emerging artist. He sold his first major piece for $18,000 in January 2024. His second for $47,000 in March. By the time he proposed to me in September, he'd had his work featured in 2 group shows and had a solo show scheduled at Caldwell Gallery in Brooklyn for November 2025. We got engaged on a Wednesday. I called my parents that night. "We're getting married next June," I told my mother. "June 8th. I wanted you to know first." "June?" Her voice went flat. "Addie, that's Colette's due date. She's having the baby in early June." I didn't know Colette was pregnant. Silence. Then, "We were going to tell you this weekend. She's 3 months along." "Congratulations," I said carefully. "But my wedding is June 8th. I've already booked the venue." "Well, we'll see how it works out," my mother said. "Babies don't come on schedule." I should have known then. The next 8 months were a series of small cuts. My mother forgot to RSVP to the engagement party Jamie threw for us in October. My father said he'd contribute $5,000 to the wedding, then called 3 weeks later to say Colette needed help with the nursery instead. "Your sister's expenses are priority right now," he said. "You understand." I didn't argue. I'd learned not to. Marcus and I paid for the wedding ourselves. His art sales covered most of it. I took on extra illustration work, children's book covers for small publishers, editorial spots for literary magazines. We kept it simple. A garden ceremony at a bed and breakfast in Mystic. 42 guests, wildflowers, a string quartet, dinner under a tent. The invitations went out in February, hand-designed. I illustrated them myself, watercolor flowers with our initials intertwined. My mother called them charming. My father said nothing. Colette's baby was born on May 2nd, a girl. Emmeline Rose Whitfield, 7 pounds, 4 ounces. My mother sent me a picture. I sent flowers to the hospital. "Can you visit?" my mother asked when I called to congratulate Colette. "I'm finishing a book project," I said, "but I'll come meet her soon." "You're always too busy for family, Addie." I let that one go. 3 weeks before my wedding, my mother called. "About June 8th, she said. What time is the ceremony? 3 o'clock. Mom, I sent you the invitation 4 months ago. I know, sweetheart. I'm just confirming, because Brett's mother is planning a baby shower for Colette. We're trying to avoid conflicts. The shower's not on June 8th, right? We're working on dates. Her voice was bright, casual. I'll let you know. She never let me know. The week before my wedding, I called to confirm. My mother answered on the fourth ring. Of course we're coming, she said. She sounded distracted. Addie, I'm in the middle of something. I'll call you back. She didn't call back. The day before my wedding, I called again. My father answered. We'll be there, he said. 2:30, right? 3 o'clock, Dad. The ceremony is at 3. Right. 3. We'll see you there. I believed him. That was my mistake. On June 8th at 9:22 a.m., I was getting my hair done at a salon in Mystic when my phone buzzed. A text from my cousin Lauren. So excited for the shower today. Colette's going to love it. I stared at the screen. My hairdresser was pinning flowers into my braid. My hands started shaking. I called my mother. Voicemail. I called my father. Voicemail. I called Colette. She answered on the second ring. Addie, hi. I'm about to. Is your baby shower today? I cut her off. Oh. Pause. Yeah, Brett's mom organized it. It's at the country club in Greenwich, starting at noon. Colette, my wedding is today. At 3 o'clock. I know. Her voice got smaller. Mom said you'd understand. The shower's been planned for weeks, and I can't exactly reschedule my own baby shower. You can't reschedule, but you knew it was the same day as my wedding? Addie, don't make this about you. Now she sounded like our mother. This is my first baby. Everyone wants to celebrate. You can have a wedding any time. I hung up. I called my mother again at 1:15 p.m., still getting ready, my makeup half done, my dress hanging on the door. She answered this time. Addie, I can't talk long. We're at the shower. You're at Colette's shower. Of course we are. Where else would we be? At my wedding. My throat was so tight I could barely breathe. Mom, you RSVP'd. Yes, you said you'd be here. Don't be dramatic. We'll celebrate with you another time. You're my mother. You're supposed to be here. And Colette is my daughter too, Adeline. She needs support right now. She just had a baby 5 weeks ago. I'm getting married in 90 minutes. Lower your voice. My mother's tone turned to ice. You're being selfish. Colette didn't choose this date for the shower. Brett's mother organized it as a surprise. What were we supposed to do, not show up? Yes! I was crying now. My makeup artist stepped back, holding her brush midair. You were supposed to tell her you couldn't come because you had my wedding. Well, we didn't. We're here. And you need to accept that not everything revolves around you. She hung up. I tried my father. He answered, Dad, please, please come. You're supposed to walk me down the aisle. Addie. His voice was firm, final. Your mother and I discussed this. Family supports family. Colette just became a mother. That takes priority. I'm your daughter too, and you're old enough to understand sacrifice. Colette needs us right now. You have Marcus. You'll be fine. He hung up. I called 12 relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins who'd RSVP'd yes. Every single one was at the shower in Greenwich. My Aunt Teresa at least sounded guilty. Honey, your mother called us all personally. She said you'd moved the wedding to next month and this shower was today. By the time we realized, I'm so sorry. We're already here. It's an hour-and-a-half drive to Mystic. My mother had lied. To everyone. At 2:47 p.m., that's when I made the call that started this story. Standing at the reception entrance, staring at empty chairs, listening to my mother tell me not to be selfish. I walked back to the bridal suite. Jamie was there, holding my bouquet. How many? She asked quietly. 7. I couldn't look at her. Out of 42. Your parents? At Colette's baby shower in Greenwich. They chose. Jamie's face went white. Addie, don't! I held up my hand. I need to get married now. I'll fall apart later. Harold Brenton found me 5 minutes before the ceremony. He was wearing a navy suit, his best one. He'd told me 2 weeks earlier that he'd be honored to walk me down the aisle if my father couldn't make it. I'd laughed then. My dad will be there. Now Harold stood in the doorway of the bridal suite, looking at me with eyes that had seen 40 years of artists struggle and survive. Your young man is waiting, he said gently. I know. I couldn't move. Harold, there's 7 people out there. I counted. He held out his arm. But Marcus is one of them. That's the one that matters. I took his arm. We walked down the aisle between 7 occupied chairs and 35 empty ones. The string quartet played Pachelbel's Canon. Marcus stood at the salvaged wood arch I decorated with wildflowers, and when he saw me, he smiled like I was the only person in the world. We got married in front of 7 witnesses. The photographer took pictures. We cut the cake. We had our first dance. At 6:30 p.m., my mother called. I was sitting at the head table, Marcus's hand in mine, looking at empty chairs. How was the wedding? She asked. Her voice was bright. We just left the shower. It was beautiful. Colette got so many gifts. You didn't come, I said flatly. We explained that, Addie. Don't start again. 35 people didn't come, because you told them I moved the wedding. Silence, then. I don't know what you're talking about. Aunt Teresa told me. You called everyone and lied. I did no such thing. If there was confusion about dates, that's not my fault. You chose Colette's baby shower over my wedding. Yes, I chose my daughter who just had a baby over my daughter who was being unreasonable about scheduling. Her voice was sharp now. You could have picked any Saturday in June. You picked the same day as Colette's shower on purpose. The shower was scheduled after my wedding invitations went out. Well, maybe if you'd been more involved in your sister's pregnancy, you would have known the shower was planned. But you're always too busy with your little art projects to care about family. I hung up. My hands weren't shaking anymore. Something had clicked inside me. Something cold and final. Marcus squeezed my hand. You okay? No, I said. But I will be. We left for our honeymoon the next morning. 2 weeks in Italy. Florence, Venice, Rome. Marcus had sold a painting to a collector from Milan, who'd arranged for us to visit private galleries, meet curators, see restoration studios most tourists never accessed. The collector's name was Victor Ashland. He was 68, a retired investment banker who'd spent the last 20 years building a contemporary art collection worth somewhere north of $40 million. He'd bought Marcus's subway platform painting for $47,000, then commissioned a larger piece for his home in Lake Como. Victor met us in Florence on June 12th. He took us to the Uffizi after hours. We stood in empty galleries looking at Botticelli, Caravaggio, Leonardo. He asked Marcus questions about technique, light, composition. You paint loneliness well, Victor said. We were standing in front of Marcus's favorite piece, a Caravaggio. Not sadness, loneliness. That's harder. I paint what I see, Marcus said. And what do you see? Marcus looked at me. I see what's missing. Then I paint around it. Victor smiled. I want to commission a series, 6 pieces, your choice of subject. I'll pay $450,000 for the set. I watched Marcus's face. He didn't move, didn't breathe. Say yes, I whispered. He said yes. We spent the rest of the honeymoon in a fog of disbelief and planning. Marcus sketched constantly. I took photographs of light, shadows, empty piazzas at dawn. Victor introduced us to a gallery owner in Rome, a curator in Venice, a collector in Milan. On our last night in Italy, sitting on a terrace in Rome, Marcus said, "None of this would have happened without Harold." What do you mean? Harold introduced me to the guy who introduced me to Victor 2 years ago at a gallery opening in New Haven. Harold knows everyone. I'd forgotten that. Harold had made the introduction so casually, so naturally, that it hadn't seemed important at the time. We came home on June 23rd. I checked my phone for the first time in 2 weeks. 67 messages. 43 were from my mother. They escalated from, "Call me when you land," to, "This is ridiculous, Adeline," to, "You're being incredibly immature." 12 were from Colette. "Mom's upset, call her." "You're making this worse. Can you just apologize so we can move on?" 8 were from my father. "Your behavior is unacceptable. You owe your mother an apology. This family doesn't tolerate disrespect." 3 were from Jamie. "Thinking of you. Call when you're ready." 1 was from Harold. "Welcome home, little artist. Stop by when you can." I went to see Harold that evening. He was in his apartment, reading the newspaper, Margaret knitting in the chair by the window. "How was Italy?" he asked. "Life-changing." I sat down on his couch. "Marcus got a major commission, $450,000. Harold's eyebrows went up. "Victor Ashland's work? How did you—" "I called in a favor." He folded his newspaper. "Marcus has talent. Victor has taste and money. It seemed like a natural fit." I stared at him. "You arranged our honeymoon?" "I arranged an introduction. Victor arranged the honeymoon. He liked Marcus's work." Harold shrugged. "Artists need opportunities. I'm old. I have connections. I use them." "Why?" "Because your family doesn't see you, Adeline. But I do." I started crying. I couldn't help it. Margaret brought me tea. Harold sat quietly until I stopped. "What happened at your wedding wasn't about you," he said finally. "It was about them. Your parents chose to hurt you because it gave them something." "What could they possibly get from missing my wedding?" "Power, control, the satisfaction of knowing you needed them and they said no." He leaned forward. "People like that don't change, Addie. They just get better at finding new ways to hurt you." "So what do I do?" "You stop giving them opportunities." He smiled, sad and knowing. "You build a life they can't touch. And you let people who actually love you into that life." I thought about that conversation a lot over the next 3 months. My mother called every few days. I didn't answer. She left voicemails. "You're being childish. This grudge is exhausting. Colette wants you to meet the baby." My father sent emails, professional, cold. "Your behavior reflects poorly on this family. We expect better from you." I didn't respond to any of it. In August, Marcus started the series for Victor Ashland, 6 large-scale paintings exploring absence and presence. He worked 12 hours a day in the studio space Harold helped him rent on State Street. I took on a major contract with Fairchild Publishing, illustrating a middle-grade novel series. Advance payment, $85,000 for 3 books. We weren't rich, but we were working, building. In September, my mother showed up at my apartment. I buzzed her in because I was too shocked to think. She appeared at my door in a cream blazer and pearls, carrying a Nordstrom bag. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. She looked around my apartment, the illustrations pinned to my walls, Marcus's sketches on the dining table, the life we'd built. "You've done well for yourself," she said. It didn't sound like a compliment. "What do you want, Mom?" "I want to talk about your wedding." She set the bag down. "I brought you a gift. For the wedding. I know we couldn't make it, but you chose not to make it. We've been over this, Adeline. Colette needed you at a baby shower more than I needed you at my wedding. I heard you the first time." My mother's face tightened. "I didn't come here to fight." "Then why did you come?" "Because you're my daughter, and this silence is ridiculous." She pulled a small box from the Nordstrom bag. "I bought you a necklace. For the wedding, sterling silver." I thought, I don't want it. "Don't be petty." "I'm not being petty, I'm being clear." I stayed by the door. "You missed my wedding on purpose. You lied to my relatives so they'd skip it too. You chose Colette over me, and you're not even sorry." "Of course I'm not sorry." Her voice rose. "Colette is my daughter too. She needed me. And I didn't? You had Marcus. You had your friends. Colette just had a baby and her husband works 80 hours a week. She's alone." I was alone at my wedding, Mom. I was alone at 42 empty chairs. My mother's eyes filled with tears. She pressed a hand to her chest. I try so hard, Addie. I try to be there for both of you, and you still resent me. I'd seen this performance before, the tears, the hurt voice, the way she made herself the victim. I don't resent you, I said quietly. I just don't trust you anymore. That's cruel. It's true. She left the necklace on my counter. She didn't say goodbye. I threw the necklace away after she left. I didn't want anything from her. October came. Marcus finished the first 2 paintings in Victor's commission. Victor flew up from New York to see them in the studio. He stood in front of the canvases for 20 minutes, not speaking. These are extraordinary, he said finally. I'm moving your solo show at Caldwell Gallery from November to February. Give you more time. These deserve a proper launch. Marcus nodded. He was covered in paint, exhausted, happy. That night, Harold invited us to dinner. Margaret made lasagna. We ate in their small dining room, the 3 of us plus Margaret, talking about art and Italy and the winter coming. I'm proud of you both, Harold said. He raised his wine glass. To building lives that matter. We clinked glasses. I felt for the first time in months like I belonged somewhere. Harold died on November 3rd, heart attack. Quick. He was in his garden, Margaret said, planting bulbs for spring. He just sat down on the ground and didn't get up. The funeral was on November 7th at a church in New Haven. Over 200 people came. Artists Harold had helped over 40 years, gallery owners, collectors, students from Yale who remembered him. My parents didn't come. I hadn't told them. After the service, Harold's lawyer approached me. His name was David Eng. He had an office on Orange Street. Miss Farrow, Harold left instructions. Could you come by my office tomorrow at 10? I went. Marcus came with me. David Eng's office was small, neat, full of books. He had a sealed envelope on his desk with my name handwritten on it. Harold gave me this 2 months ago, David said. He asked me to deliver it to you personally if anything happened to him. What is it? I don't know, he didn't tell me. David slid the envelope across the desk. He also left instructions for his estate. You're not a beneficiary of the will, but he wanted you to have this separately. I opened the envelope in the car. Marcus sat in the driver's seat, not starting the engine, while I unfolded the letter. It was 3 pages, handwritten, Harold's careful script. Dear Addie, if you're reading this, then I'm gone, and your family is already doing what I knew they would do. They're going to try to take credit for your success. They're going to show up now that Marcus is getting recognition, now that you're building something they can see. Don't let them. Do you remember the first winter in my building? You had no heat. You came downstairs at 6 in the morning, shivering, apologizing for bothering me. You thought you weren't worth the inconvenience of a phone call. That's what your family taught you, that you're not worth inconvenience. You are worth everything, Addie. You always have been. I've watched you build yourself from nothing. No family money, no connections, just your hands and your talent and your refusal to quit. That's rare. That's real. I made some calls for Marcus, introduced him to people who could help, but the work was his, the talent was his, the discipline was his. I just opened doors. He walked through them. Your wedding was the clearest proof of who your family is. 42 chairs, 7 people. They couldn't even show up for the most important day of your life. But those 7 people? That's your real family. I'm enclosing something that might help you down the line. In 2019, your mother called me. She wanted to know how much rent you were paying. She said your father thought you were living beyond your means and wanted to verify your expenses. I didn't tell her anything, but I recorded the conversation. She said some things about you I think you should hear, not to hurt you, to free you. The recording is with David Eng. Ask for it if you want it. Don't ask if you don't. Also enclosed, letters of recommendation I've written for you over the years, copies of emails I sent to gallery owners, curators, collectors mentioning your work, evidence that your success is yours. When your family tries to claim they supported you, you'll have proof they didn't. One more thing. Victor Ashland isn't just a collector, he's a friend. We served together on the board of the New Haven Arts Council in the 1990s. I called him specifically about Marcus because I knew he'd see what I see: talent, integrity, someone worth investing in. Victor's commission isn't charity, it's business. Marcus earned it. But I want you to know I made that introduction because you deserved it. Because your family was never going to help you, and someone needed to. You're not alone, Addie. You have Marcus. You have Jamie. You have Margaret. You have me. Even now. Build your life. Protect it. Don't let them in. All my love, Harold P.S. There's a key in this envelope. It opens a storage unit on Trumbull Street. Unit 347. Inside are the paintings your grandmother Eleanor bought from local artists in the 1970s and 1980s. She left them to you in her will. Your father told her lawyer they were disposed of after her death. They weren't. I bought them at the estate sale for $3,000. I've been storing them for you. They're worth approximately $180,000 now. They're yours. Always were. I read the letter 3 times. My hands didn't shake. I didn't cry. I felt something crack open inside me. Not grief. Clarity. What does it say? Marcus asked carefully. I handed him the letter. He read it. Then he read it again. When he looked up, his eyes were wet. Harold knew, he said. He always knew. I asked David Eng for the recording. He gave me a thumb drive. I listened to it in David's office, Marcus beside me, his hand in mine. My mother's voice, clear and cold. I need to verify how much Adeline is paying in rent. My husband suspects she's lying about her expenses to make us feel guilty about not helping her financially. Harold's voice, patient. I don't discuss my tenant's finances, Mrs. Farrow. She's my daughter. I have a right to know if she's being irresponsible. She pays her rent on time. She's a good tenant? That's not what I asked. My mother's voice sharpened. Look, we both know Addie has always been dramatic. She exaggerates her struggles to get sympathy. I just want to know the truth so we can stop enabling her victim complex. Silence. Then Harold. Mrs. Farrow, I think this conversation is over. I'm trying to help her. No. You're trying to catch her in a lie that doesn't exist. Your daughter works hard, pays her bills, and doesn't ask for anything from anyone. If that bothers you, that's your problem, not hers. My mother hung up. I sat in David Eng's office, staring at the thumb drive. You okay? Marcus asked. Yeah, I was. I'm done. We went to the storage unit that afternoon. Unit 347 on Trumbull Street. The key Harold left worked. Inside were 16 paintings, landscapes, portraits, abstract pieces, all signed by artists I'd never heard of, all purchased by my grandmother between 1972 and 1984. Taped to the back of the largest painting was a yellowed receipt from the estate sale, $3,000, paid by Harold Brenton, August 2012. The month after my grandmother's funeral, Harold had bought these paintings 11 years ago. He'd stored them, waited, protected them, for me. Marcus started researching the artists. By the end of the week, he'd found auction records, gallery sales, collector markets. Conservative estimate for all 16, $180,000, possibly more. Your grandmother had taste, Marcus said. These are good. I called David Eng. I want to sell the paintings. All of them? All of them. And I want the money by February. May I ask why February? Because that's when Marcus's solo show is at Caldwell Gallery, and I have plans. The painting sold at auction in January for $192,000. After fees and taxes, I cleared $165,000. I used $25,000 to fund a scholarship at Gateway Community College for students studying illustration. Named it the Eleanor Farrow Memorial Scholarship. I used $40,000 to commission an artist to create an installation piece. The rest I saved. Marcus's solo show opened at Caldwell Gallery on February 14th. The title of the show, Occupied Spaces. The centerpiece was my commission, an installation called The Seventh Chair. 42 white folding chairs arranged in 7 rows of 6. Each chair had a sprig of dried lavender tied to the back with cream ribbon. 35 chairs were empty. their seats painted with shadows of people who weren't there. 7 chairs held photographs: Harold, Margaret, Marcus's mother and stepfather, his 2 college friends, Jamie. On the wall behind the chairs, projected large, a photograph from my wedding, the empty reception tent, the empty chairs. 7 people standing in a room meant for 42. Below the photograph, June 8, 2024, Mystic, Connecticut, 42 guests invited, 7 attended. The installation took up the entire back gallery. People stood in front of it for 10, 15, 20 minutes. I sent my parents an invitation to the opening. Formal, engraved. They came. I saw them walk in at 7:45 p.m. My mother in a black dress, my father in a suit, Colette and Brett behind them. They walked through the gallery looking at Marcus's paintings. My mother complimented the compositions. My father commented on the technique. Then they reached the back gallery. I watched from across the room as my mother saw the 7th chair. Her face went white. She stopped walking. My father read the placard. Colette said something. I couldn't hear it. But I saw my mother shake her head. They stood there for 3 minutes. Other people circled the installation, reading the wall text, looking at the empty chairs. My mother turned. She found me in the crowd. I didn't look away. She walked over. My father followed. Colette stayed by the installation, staring. Adeline. My mother's voice was tight. Can we talk outside? No. This is inappropriate. You're making a public spectacle of a private family matter. It's art, I said calmly. It's Marcus's perspective on absence and presence. I commissioned it. You're humiliating us. I'm telling the truth. I looked at my father. 42 people were invited to my wedding. You told me you'd be there. You weren't. We explained our reasons, my father said. His voice was low, dangerous. Colette needed you at a baby shower. I needed you at my wedding. You chose. I kept my voice level. That's not humiliation. That's documentation. My mother's eyes filled with tears. How could you do this to us? I didn't do anything to you. I got married. You didn't come. We're your parents. You're the people who gave birth to me. I was surprised how steady I sounded. But Harold walked me down the aisle. Harold introduced Marcus to the collector who changed our lives. Harold stored my grandmother's paintings for 11 years so my father couldn't sell them. Harold was more of a parent to me than you ever were. That's not fair, my mother whispered. It's true. A crowd had gathered, not intentionally, but people were listening. My father's face was red. You will apologize right now. For what? For this attack on your family. I'm not attacking anyone. I'm showing what happened. If you're embarrassed by the truth, that's your problem. You ungrateful. My father stepped closer. Everything you have, we gave you. Name one thing. He stopped. His mouth opened, closed. You took my grandmother's scholarship money and bought Colette a car, I said. You missed my wedding. You lied to my relatives so they'd skip it too. You showed up here tonight because Marcus is getting attention now and you want to take credit. I looked at both of them. You don't get to. This is mine. I built this. My mother was crying now, real tears. We supported you. When? We came to your graduation. My graduation from Gateway? You didn't come. Harold did. Your high school graduation. I was 17, Mom. That was 11 years ago. The silence was thick. People were openly watching now. Colette appeared next to my mother. Addie, can you please just... This is embarrassing. For who? For all of us. You're making us look terrible. I'm not making you look like anything. I'm just showing what you did. We didn't do anything wrong. Colette's voice rose. Mom and Dad had a legitimate conflict. The shower was important. More important than my wedding? Yes. She said it without thinking. Then her face changed. I mean, no, you just said what you actually think. I looked at my sister, really looked at her. You've always thought your life matters more than mine. So do Mom and Dad, that's fine. You're allowed to think that. But I'm allowed to stop pretending it's not true. My mother grabbed my arm. Adeline, please. Can we discuss this privately? No. I stepped back. You had months to discuss it. You didn't. You made your choice. I made mine. I walked away. Marcus was waiting by the door. We left our own show at 8:15 p.m. and went to dinner at a quiet Italian place where no one knew us. How do you feel? Marcus asked. Free, I said. And I was. The show ran for 6 weeks. The Seventh Chair got written up in 3 art magazines. One critic called it a devastating portrait of chosen family versus biological obligation. My parents never contacted me again. Not to apologize, not to explain, nothing. Colette sent one email. You've really hurt Mom and Dad. I hope you're happy. I didn't respond. In April, Victor Ashland bought all 6 paintings from Marcus's commission series for $450,000. He also connected Marcus with a gallery in Berlin and a collector in Singapore. We moved to a bigger apartment in June. 2 bedrooms, natural light, enough space for both of us to work. On the anniversary of our wedding, June 8, 2025, we went back to Mystic, just the 2 of us. We had lunch at the bed and breakfast where we got married. The owner remembered us. You were the couple with the 7 guests, she said. I felt so terrible for you. Don't, I said. Those 7 people were the right people. We walked through the garden where we'd had the ceremony. The wildflowers were blooming again. The salvaged wood arch was still there. Marcus took my hand. No regrets? None. That evening, we drove to New Haven. We stopped at the cemetery where Harold was buried. I brought flowers, peonies, his favorite. I stood at his grave for a long time. Marcus waited in the car. Thank you, I said out loud. To Harold, to the air, for seeing me. I don't talk to my parents anymore. I don't talk to Colette. I don't miss them. I miss the idea of them sometimes. The parents I thought I had. The family I wanted. But I don't miss who they actually were. Jamie asks me sometimes if I'll ever forgive them. I don't think that's the right question. The right question is, do I need them in my life to be whole? And the answer is no. Marcus's career has taken off. He's had shows in 4 cities. His work sells for an average of $75,000 per piece now. We're not rich, but we're stable. I illustrated 2 more book series. My work is in bookstores. Kids read stories with my pictures. We're building something. Together. If you're watching this and you've ever had people in your life who made you feel small, who made you believe you didn't deserve to take up space, who told you your pain didn't matter, I want you to know something. Silence isn't peace. Silence is the price you pay for someone else's comfort. You don't owe anyone that price. Not your parents, not your siblings, not anyone. The people who love you show up. They walk you down the aisle when your father doesn't. They introduce you to opportunities when your family wants you to fail. They store your inheritance for 11 years because they know someone will try to take it. That's love. Everything else is just biology. If you've ever had to walk away from family to protect yourself, type "I walked away" in the comments. Or if you chose to stay and set boundaries that actually work, type "I set boundaries." Both are brave. Both are valid. If this story meant something to you, check the description for more stories just like this one. Thank you for being here.